Good morning, kids. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcross Studios of turning Skibidi toilet characters into, oh, no, just redesigning Skibidi toilet characters. Now, as a person that was never really into Skibidi toilet until it already blew up to what it was, I am curious to see what this guy is gonna do with them.
Skibidi Toilet is another one of those topics that I never would have looked into if it weren't for a whole bunch of my subscribers
look at that.
recommending it. But I'll admit, I watched through the whole series and I did get genuinely invested in the bizarrely elaborate story of toilet beings invading the world. And instead of taking the characters and turning them into dragons or superheroes or demons, I decided to just redesign the characters in my own way. As if someone handed me a bunch of the core concepts and descriptions of characters and said, "Here, do your own version of this." And I gotta be honest, based on how the drawings turned out, I think I could go a few rounds of this. But the best way to encourage me to do a sequel if you're new here is to subscribe. But anyway, let's see what the Popcross style Skibidi Toilet is like, shall we?
Alright, let's go.
Hit like if you want, subscribe
if you feel like it. By the way, enjoy the show. Do please subscribe.
Dimension S112 is under siege. The entities threatening the world seem to be those infected by a form of techno-organic virus that kills those infected and converts their bodies into deadly machines with various forms of weaponry able to upgrade themselves at will. Oddly, while they keep the head of the human they overtook mostly unchanged, they convert the rest of their body into a form similar to that of human waste receptacles, most commonly toilets, but also urinals on some occasions.
Wait, really?
Based on a song that they frequently sing while committing their atrocities, we have deemed to refer to this invading, infecting army as the Skibidi Armada. We are not yet certain
Nice name.
if... I'm sorry, is something about this funny to you? What do you mean
Benny,
something
what
about
up?
this funny? You can't tell me that a world is being invaded by singing toilet monsters and not expect any reaction. What the heck are you talking about? Why would these things look like toilets? If I knew, I would tell you. This universe is frankly quite bizarre. On a surface level, it seems to have many similarities to the one we currently reside in. Although for some reason, even with a multiversal translator, we were unable to communicate with any of the world's residents. Although, stranger still, on a few occasions we did hear the music of a band that Ms. Jones, whom I was accompanying in this research, was familiar with. She said it was called Everybody Wants to Rule the World, by a band called Tears for Fears, and it was sung in English. Thus far, that is the only language we have been able to understand, as the song or chant sung by the Skibidi Armada, in contrast, does not resemble anything I am familiar with. Well, why don't you sing it for me? Maybe I'll understand it. I highly doubt there is any chance that you could possibly...
come on, I know a lot of stuff that most people don't know. Like how I know that our conversation here is gonna get interrupted at 9 minutes and 16 seconds for an advertisement of some kind.
That is most...
Wait, what? Hold on. 9 minutes. Oh, yeah, look at that. That was the ad. As predicted. Ha!
Certainly not going to happen. You are being ridiculous, Sharp.
Come on, he's right.
Tell me the words. It sounds roughly like skibbity dop dop bop. Yes, skibbity double up neem. And I can see you holding your phone filming me. Sorry, I just needed that for posterity reasons and so I can find someone who knows how to auto-tune stuff. But yeah, anyway, how is these things getting to folks and infecting them and killing them and whatnot? Well, what we gathered from news footage we acquired access to, despite the information on it not being portrayed in a language we understood, it seemed evident that while the origin of these beings is unknown, they infected the first waves of people by disguising themselves as toilets, waiting for people to come and use them, then we're not entirely certain. Perhaps biting them, or possibly even touching the normal humans of this world is enough, as the opposing armies fighting against them do not seem to be regular humans, but beings with bodies comprised of a different form of mechanical biological material. So I'm guessing you guys has already considered the possibility that this might have been the work of one of the Archon demons who is going around invading different universes and can create weird wacky monsters with a snap of their fingers. If these toilet things is techno-organic, maybe they were made by that sci-fi looking one. That was indeed the reason for our initial investigation, but we have not yet been able to determine if it is the case,
Hey,
or
no
if
evidence.
this is a
Great.
more natural event in this world.
Gotta hate when
Though
that
one
happens,
of the
Dr.
common
Oakland.
types of infected soldiers, which Ms. Jones referred to as a strider, does seem to have liquid metal limbs that it walks on, which are quite similar to that of one of the Archon demons. Oh boy, I'm sorry. So these strider-looking things is toilets with human heads walking around on mechanical arms and singing gibberish? This is
Apparently.
a very serious situation, Sharp. An entire planet is under siege. Yeah, no, I'm sure that these things is terrifying and not hilarious to look at all.
The smaller ones are okay. But be careful if you start hearing the song very, very, very deep. Then you need to start running.
So who exactly is these folks that's fighting back against the toilets? You couldn't talk to them and ask them what's going on? The Resistance unfortunately seems to be able to communicate with one another telepathically, as we have never heard them speak. There seems to be 3 factions currently fighting back, but the initial resistance came in the form of biomechanical beings, with various forms of camera lenses in place of their heads and faces. Their bodies seem to be composed of a similar liquid mechanical and metal biology that makes up the Skibidi Armada, but they are quite clearly in opposition to the invaders. Sure, cameramen fighting toilets makes about as much sense as everything else going on.
Yeah.
Their leader, or in the least their most prized warrior, is a titanic being that stands at roughly 100 meters in height. Though, like how
That's about
the
300
Armada is
feet.
able to upgrade themselves, so too are the camera beings, meaning his height is subject to change. We were able to see footage of his initial appearance, and since then he has added a cannon to one of his arms, gained wings and the ability of flight, and now wields a massive hammer. Well, now that's pretty
That
cool.
is
You know, I
cool.
once smashed the toilet with a big hammer myself. And why exactly did you do that? Well, now I'll tell you. It was Mardi Gras, 1998.
Okay,
Changed my
never mind.
mind. I do not want to know. Well, that's good, because I didn't really know where I was going with that anyway. So these camera folks just wanted the resistance.
Of course you
said?
didn't.
Yes, it seems they were the first to stand up and fight back, at least in the region we explored, which was akin to a mid-1990s version of the New York City in this dimension. They were able to fend off the waves of the Armada initially, but as the enemy's numbers grew, and as more bizarre and powerful variants of them emerged, including what seemed to be some sort of high-ranking general of the Armada with the ability to shoot lethal rays from its eyes, the Resistance became desperately in need of help. Luckily, then, a new group came forth, beings with similar forms to the camera-headed entities, but these ones had heads and weaponry more similar to that of speaker systems. And just to clarify, you're definitely certain that this wasn't just some kind of wacky fever dream that you had? Are you not a man whose arch rival is a gopher with a ray gun that wears a torn tuxedo? Surely this is not substantially stranger than things you yourself have experienced.
He's literally just like, Benny, you can't be calling this serious. You can't be calling this silly when your ultimate enemy is a gopher with a gun in a suit. So, you tell me.
Well, first, Archibald wears a torn-up suit, not a tuxedo. Second, me and I is sorta buddies now, or at least frenemies. But other than that, yeah, alright, fair enough. The multiverse is a pretty weird place.
Thank you.
So the speaker folks, they show up and then do what? Well, as you might expect, they are able to play music and various sounds from their speakers. They are the beings that revealed that the song Everybody Wants to Rule the World exists in this universe. They are also able to play sounds with immense volume and force that are able to damage and, at times, even kill members of the Skibidi Armada. For a brief while, this gave the Resistance the power they needed to wipe out large swaths of the Armada. But it was only a matter of time before the opposition created a new way of devastating their foes.
Well, damn it.
The suspense. You're doing a real good job making a story about toilets fighting cameras and speakers sound dramatic, you know that? It is a dramatic situation. But to be fair, I am also aware that I have a tendency to make things sound rather dramatic because I do speak slowly and enunciate better than most. Huh,
It's definitely
that
the
is a level
voice.
of self-awareness I did not expect from you, Drizzy boy.
Alright, this one is pretty good. It's not too bad. But I'm gonna save us the trouble of watching the ad with a cut, and we're back.
Let's go.
See, I told you we'd be stopped for an advertisement at 9 minutes and 16 seconds. What are you talking about? Nothing interrupted us. I guess you can't see him either. Most people can't. Anyway, continue with the story. Alright, well, the primary weapon that helped shift the war back in favor of the Skibidi Armada was an upgraded member of their ranks that was able to move at speeds so quick that all you can see of it as it soars by is a streak of blue light. It moved so quickly that the speaker-headed beings could not aim and blast their music and sounds fast enough to destroy it. In fact, it was very likely moving faster than the speed of sound. On the only footage we saw of it not moving, its head seemed to be sparking and contorting as if it were a computer program glitching. Though most footage of it showed the entity...
It is called the Glitzy Toilet. I mean, you got the Strido Skibidi Toilet, the Titan Counterman, and now the Glitz Toilet. Next would be...
tackling through the
I can't
resistance
wait.
forces at incredible speeds and destroying them in a single hit. Flying toilets, huh? Hey, how much would someone have to pay you to actually use a flying toilet? I mean, I fly all the time in the mech armors that I build, and I have built some that you can do your business in. But just sitting with no seatbelt on a flying toilet going through the sky, I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
Nope.
I'm sorry, but you have built armors that you can defecate in? Hey, you answer my question first, and then I'll answer and clarify yours. Or we could both just drop it and carry on. Alright,
so
fine.
be it.
Dropping it
You
like a
stick in
douche.
the
Now
mud.
go on. Oh, I would rather be speaking with the gopher. Anyhow, on top of adding a being with superhuman speeds to their ranks, the Armada also developed the ability to take over the minds and bodies of the camera and speaker-headed beings by placing a small member of their kind on the backs of the Resistance warriors' necks. They do not seem to be able to convert them into members of the Armada permanently, like normal human beings can be, but this mind control did prove to be a significant problem for those in the Resistance. The speaker-headed beings even had a Titanic warrior of their own, similar in abilities and stature to the camera-headed Titan. But this speaker Titan was eventually overtaken by mind control as well, showing that no member of the Resistance, no matter how powerful, was safe from conversion. Luckily, the Resistance soon learned that destroying the entity on the back of one's neck, or even simply removing it, could free these beings from mind control. They
that kind of makes
were
sense.
even able to develop a weapon that, when shot at lower-powered infected Resistance members, could free them. Though this did not work on beings at the scale of the Titans. To truly take the upper hand in this conflict, they would need the help of a third party who would once again give the Resistance an upper hand. Wow, this war seems like it's really gone through a lot of big swings with these folks winning and then the big bad toilets winning. How much footage of this whole thing did you end up watching through? A fair amount. To be completely honest, both Ms. Jones and I found the footage quite fascinating. It was bizarre and disturbing, but in a way that made it quite difficult to avert your gaze. It was surprisingly captivating in a way that I have a difficult time explaining.
Crazy.
The third party of the Resistance are
Here
a
we
group
go.
of beings with various types of screens in place of their faces, often showing static like an old television screen. They also proved able to communicate at least in some capacity by screening various text symbols on their faces, often letters and punctuation commonly found on keyboards that, when strung together in a short sequence, make an image that somewhat resembles a facial expression. Wow,
an
think you should
emoticon.
win an award for longest and most elaborate description ever given for an emoticon. Emoticon.
Okay.
Like emotional icon. A fitting term. Had you seriously never heard of an emoticon before? Ain't you been alive for like 6,000 years? That does not mean that I know everything about everything. Perhaps I even did know about this term once and forgot. Many things can slip your mind when you have lived for centuries.
He's not wrong about
continuing
that.
On, an ability that these television screen-headed beings appear to have is the power to teleport in black puffs of smoke from one location to another. Oh, that's pretty cool. They can bamf? That is another term I am unfamiliar with. Bamf, it's this wood I used for a teleporting mecha I once made. Whenever it teleports, it shoots out a puff of purple smoke and makes this bamf sort of sound.
Oh,
well,
Nightcrawler.
I suppose it is not
a
fitting term in this case then, as when these beings teleport, there is a much more subtle sound emitted. On top of this power, they can also emit visuals on their screens that can have various negative effects on the Skibidi Armada. A purple screen is able to paralyze them so that other members of their ranks or other resistance fighters can go up to them and flush them, or the red screen... Whoa, no, hold up there, Drizzy boy.
Oh boy.
Flush them. What is that? You ain't said nothing about flushing them. These things don't just look like toilets, they can actually be flushed? Ugh, I intentionally avoided saying that earlier to cease your interruptions, but yes... One way to defeat the Skibidi Armada soldiers is to pull a lever most of them have somewhere near the tops of their bodies, which will then flush their heads back inside them, leaving them unable to move for an unknown length of time. Well,
supposedly killing them.
They can be easily destroyed. Oh boy, you know, I know it's probably weird to have a favorite war, but this is definitely my new favorite war that's ever happened. Go on about these TV screen folks. Do they got one of them Titans too? Yes, one that can emit a red screen that instantly flushes dozens of Armada soldiers at once.
Nice.
Though I am not certain if it is their leader. It seemed as though the true leader of this faction may be a woman of average human female height. She seemed to be instructing the movements and actions of her fellow resistance fighters and was a skilled warrior herself. Her head was able to pop off and fly about without her body. She also had the ability to emit orange light from her face that could burst the opposing Armada warriors into flames when directing it at them. She was the one who was finally able to defeat the glitching super speed toilet mentioned previously. But let me guess, soon after that, the toilets developed some tech or did something again that made the whole thing swing back in their favor. That is indeed correct. Wow, well, I am loving this, but I am gonna need a snack break. I'm either gonna come back so you can tell me more, or if the views and comments and new subscribers on this ain't so great, I'll just forget it ever happened, and we don't gotta talk about it no more.
Oh, come on.
As usual, what you are saying is pure nonsense to me. Says the guy that just spent 17 minutes telling me about a toilet war.
Well, whatever, man. And you gotta admit, some of this is awesome, though. Some of it, not everything. Alright, that was pretty cool.
You might also want to check out my Amazing Digital Circus characters as SCPs episodes. Or maybe my...
I checked that out.
I guess Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics as mech armors.
And I checked that out.
Sort of similar. I mean, Benny Schaap is one of the narrators of those episodes as well. And if you want more out of this channel, you can get posters and shirts and stuff like that on my Teespring store. We also have a brand new art book out called Monsters of the Multiverse. Also, I'd love some more suggestions for other Skibidi Toilet characters that I could use if this ends up getting a sequel. Which I'm anticipating it will, but we'll see what happens. And besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive uplifting note. And the thought I want to leave people with is a quote I'm going to paraphrase that I read this week from a man named David Perel, who said there's only two people that you really need to make proud. Your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self.
Oh.
I mean, personally, I think my 8-year-old self will love the ridiculous job that I have. And my 80-year-old self's going to be very happy about my dedication to staying fit and healthy and eating well, so that when I am 80, I can still do things like touch my toes and play sports and stuff like that. I hope that's inspiring. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Well, folks, I gotta say, this was a pretty good video. So, that's going to be the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below. And I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.